Okay,
Oh,
so
it's
that's the
dutifully read
microphone.
this
Yeah.
thing out.
So it's a multi-directional microphone,
Yep.
and we
That's
should
the- that's
have
the
no
notice about
other.
Zoom and
And
hybrid.
where's the sound
Oh,
coming
okay.
from?
There's a sound bar underneath
Underneath.
the TV.
Oh my
this-
God, there we are.
This
Yep,
also
scary, isn't it?
controls, there's a
Just crawl
camera in the
under the
middle of
table.
that.
We're-
So like, watch, I can zoom out so you can see everybody here.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah,
Tony, nobody will ever want to meet in person again.
There's a
know.
slight time delay. Between
Stacy,
You
the
can
time
even
I
hit this
open
button
and the
here.
time
come on, get out
it
of here.
displays.
And when I
That's
talk,
okay.
Oh,
it'll automatically zoom in on me.
no,
Or you can turn that off.
Stacy, stop
So
it.
it's like-
I like
That's a
that.
light bulb.
Ellen,
Yeah.
if you talk,
say something,
Hi.
Ellen.
How you doing?
No, you gotta talk louder, Ellen.
Come on.
What's going on tonight?
it, maybe because it's zoomed in on me already.
All right, try it, now try it again.
Can you hear me now? A little bit.
Talk in a lower register.
Yeah, see, so
Hi,
it'll come towards.
hi, how you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
So the
There you
point of
go.
that, the
This
point
is
of
all,
that
this
is-
is very gender specific, this
the
thing.
point of that
Seems
is,
to be.
if you're controlling this and
Yeah,
let's say Lynn's gonna, give a big speech. And it's gonna be a couple minutes, you can push that button and it'll automatically go to her. You don't have to sit here and
Lynn,
like try to find
Did
her.
you sign this?
oh, I see,
Honestly, I wouldn't even touch it.
just leave it. I would-
And this is volume.
No,
Okay,
well,
for
she's
sound
on
bar.
Yeah.
other committees.
Okay, and all this does is turn the
And
TV
You
on.
sign them, we've got three.
So,
Okay, so this is the camera and
Yep.
sound
Managed to make
control.
a
Yeah.
Conservation
this is
Commission
the-
meeting yet.
just to
Oh.
turn the
Because it's
TV
all
on.
Okay.
Zoom.
Well, yeah, they have.
So you've used Zoom, so
Yeah.
if you wanna have the participants up on the
On
right,
the right, I think that's exactly what we do.
Oh, you
So
know
let's
what?
do that.
And then all I need. to do is
Usually
sign
I
these
do,
two, and
you know, if you
want
wanna-
number each, you can.
I don't know if you do mute participants on entry,
And I
So
did
this
take
way-
my
So that you
exam.
have to then
Oh, you did.
unmute them?
no, they can do it themselves.
Oh, they can, but just automatically.
Just so that when they, sometimes people sign in and they're talking to somebody
Right,
else.
yeah, yeah.
The ethics one.
Okay.
So that's how I do.
And then,
Chat, if you open chat too, it's right here.
yeah, leave that, that's good too.
I
So
think
both of those things can
Oh,
fit
well,
there.
I did
Yeah,
it a
maybe
while
stay
ago.
right
Do
So
I
if you
have
had
to
too
do it
many
again
people
now?
who were in,
No.
you'd have to scroll
But if
down.
you send it to me, it's good to, those,
Yeah,
did you
Okay,
get a certificate? I
wow.
just emailed.
Tony,
it
this
to
is
me.
brilliant.
I think
Is this
so.
your idea?
I mean, I'll pull up
we
what
have
I
them in
did.
both conferences.
You,
Okay.
and who
Alan,
did it
if
for
you
you?
could-
Who did the?
IQ.
And then sign.
IQ.
Who were they?
That's our IT company, and we paid for it all out of COVID money.
Print.
So it's
Everyone
a way
is.
to,
Right.
Wow.
And
it's a
sign
way to
it.
help,
But I'm on CPC
You know,
too, so.
Wow.
Yeah,
keep
it's up
numbers
there, we'll find
inside down.
I put them
Ah,
on.
okay, so.
Daisy,
Um,
Daisy,
Damn.
Print and then sign.
oh, this is like you. Go see Tony, he loves it. Yeah, I know. That's really good, very good.
So that's it.
Tony,
Pretty
thank you
simple.
for staying
Yeah,
and helping
it's
us.
very sweet.
And then thank you for setting this up. It's tremendous.
Yeah, what a brilliant idea.
The only thing that we can't do this upstairs,
Because the acoustics are so bad or something?
A, the acoustics are so bad, B, where would you put the TV? Because you need to kind of see the TV as well. Upstairs is just, it would, where would it be, like behind us? It's just not,
Surround sound.
doesn't,
Doesn't flow.
doesn't fit well. But the other cool thing about
You
this,
can have electronics on
is,
there.
for like
Yeah.
planning boards, or assessors, or Concom, they can actually pull up like a big plan and put it on
Yeah.
the screen instead of like everybody huddling around it.
Right, okay, so
That's your.
let's use that for a moment. So if we had a document that we wanted to show, how would we do that?
If you email it to yourself, just,
To myself?
yeah, well, like, let's say you have Gmail or whatever. you
Yeah,
have,
okay,
Just open up the internet, sign into your Gmail.
okay, so I would. do
I
it-
emailed
would
it
do
to you.
I would do it from you.
Yeah, because I mean, what I'd like to do is put that application on the screen. And I-
Okay.
I had emailed that to you.
You did
Yeah,
earlier, okay, so
Gmail's top right,
I can't see it.
to the left, right there. Nope,
That's-
down.
Down
a
one,
little bit,
left.
To the left.
Oh, I see,
Yep.
okay.
I heard something back. I got it.
Sign,
fine, Liz, how are you?
I know.
So you could do it this way, or you could sign in a Dropbox, or if you had it on a USB,
Yeah,
you could plug it into the, the side of this laptop.
and then what program would you open to display?
Hi,
How you doing?
You just would go to that folder
The only-
and then open the
Oh, yeah.
USB.
You want to see it?
Down here.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so if you had a
The USB will be here,
Yeah, or
Right.
it would be right here.
Right.
We're on
Okay.
both.
but if you, okay, but if you, so you click on it, right click it, open, and there's something there that will open it.
And if you guys wanted to, this computer is always here. Like, let's say you guys are always gonna be in this conference room.
Yeah,
You could even create a folder if you wanted to on this computer, on
CPC,
Yeah, and then
CPC folder.
you would have access to it every time you came here.
Interesting, okay.
Okay.
One's
No.
for me and one's for
I
CPC.
think we got enough to get started, huh?
This is.
Now, you want me to get that document?
I'd like to be able to put it on the screen.
Yeah,
I had
well, let's
hoped
see how it
Ellen would
works.
send it to everyone.
Do you need my phone
So
number?
I did.
If you want to get to me, if you're not.
No, I don't care, I mean,
Too much going on. So, all right.
So Diane has a list of members on your committee.
I know I responded to her earlier. A lot of
okay.
them were, I think, Conservation Commission members.
Yeah, just got overlap.
I think I figured out what happened. And when I gave them to Olivia, she put them on both. Because
Wait a
I did
second.
this, or I might have done it. What's that?
I'm not on the I'm not on, oh, that's CPC, sorry.
Yeah.
Open space, all right, so both of you there, okay.
And I just.
All right, so-
I gave you the bottom.
No problem.
If you could print and then sign.
Sure.
Let's see what, oh,
Oh, this is going on.
Lynn, okay, so Ellen's gonna be at home. Okay. And,
Just hit the back arrow. Yeah, you can do that way too.
okay, Lynn Spencer.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you, glad to get your, in order.
So I guess we'll download it.
Alan Goldberg's not coming. And does Mickey come from home too?
And Mickey's coming
So
in.
it's
by-
downloaded.
He's what?
and-
Mickey won't be here as well. He'll be by Zoom.
Oh, okay. All right, so here, is this what you're looking for there?
My favorite spam was
Okay.
go away. That. Hate that.
That doesn't work.
Is Austin coming in tomorrow?
Let's see.
Lynn, do you know if Austin is coming in?
I did.
Yes, he is.
Oh, good. Oh, wow. We're really getting a good.
What are these little gizmos here? Lynn Spencer.
It's just probably showing.
These are showing the edits that I want to make on it.
Ah,
All right.
There's just the PDF edits.
I see. Okay, so now if I want to share this screen, I have to go back to Zoom
Yep.
and then I would share screen and it's going to show me. And there it is.
Yep.
Maybe
Okay,
I'll here, just get this out of the
okay.
way.
I think I can handle that.
She's, you know,
She wants to be
I think I
involved.
can do that.
She might want to be in charge.
she is in charge.
So is Kristen going to make minutes from recordings
That's what she
Tonight?
said.
tonight?
Yes.
Yeah, so basically she said, I mean, you guys are on our account, Zoom account, so as long as it's set up for recording, which it is,
Yep.
you
can
don't
do
even
it.
have to send it to her. She can just log in, watch the old.
Excellent.
And
You just have to let her know when they've been approved so that she can, I mean, that they're done and that you want it done. Just a reminder, meeting's done, don't forget to do. that.
Oh, okay. All right.
That looked good.
So how are the children?
Good. They're good. Rockwood's more fun, giving candy out than actually going to get candy. It was funny, when we went walk around the block, you know, like a car drove by, a couple of cars drove by, and we'd be like, watch out for the car, you know, like stay on the sidewalk. So then after we were done trick or treating, everybody came, you know, people are knocking on our door. He gets so excited, like, oh, wow. And then like, as they're leaving, he'd be like, watch out for the car.
How old is
It's a
he
bit-
now?
Not even 3 yet. I'm like, you are not like an adult, relax.
But you better watch out what you give him as instructions.
I know.
There was this thing on Facebook or Instagram or something, that it's one of those blown and grown, like what happened.
Just the
And it was said,
laptop is
it
telling you.
really started to scare me when my kids sounded just like me, like all the things coming out of it became.
The
what I
laptop,
said for
you're
him.
saying, install this update.
That's- I remember.
We do it tomorrow.
I remember 17, that's it.
We had our
Is that a
early
dehumidifier?
family
Is that what that is?
Thanksgiving.
That's an air purifier.
I
Oh, an air
rented a house out in
purifier. Oh, wow.
the Berkshires.
Oh, nice.
People coming from Holland and all kinds of people. And I was in the kitchen thinking, oh my God, I'm a mother right now. 'Cause they said, who could make a gravy? I guess I could. Who's doing this? Doing that? Yeah, it's funny how you start.
Mhm.
If this was available in a file,
Yeah.
you could email it to me, that would be great.
And it's always here too.
Yeah.
Until it isn't.
And the purifier's here. Purifier's always there. Might be off, just have to turn the button on.
No, it's on, it's on
Sounds
quiet.
like it's on.
It's on quiet.
It isn't.
Those are awesome.
Yeah, they
We
are.
bought a bunch of those too.
So how was the dedication of the tennis basketball court?
It was great. Austin cut the ribbon on your behalf.
Yes,
Oh, way to
I'm
go,
so glad
Austin.
Austin could do it.
That's the CPC rep.
Way to go, Austin.
Beautiful court, beautiful. And the.
Diane, you know, beat a couple people in one-on-one.
I need to meet Joanne. That's all. She's my arch rival.
Is this on the pickleball ball or the?
Basketball.
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 You're a basketball.
I was.
Excellent.
Not so
The-
much. I was saying, oh, I wish I had a team when my son about, well, he's 19 now, about 9-10 years ago, I had a boys team that I coached, and we used to go down there on Sunday mornings and play, and all I could think was like, I hope nobody turns an ankle.
Yeah.
The parents will come.
So,
out.
so
It's
Flash
beautiful.
Road's supposed to be done this week. So,
Wow.
you know, barring any weather or whatever, but they have all
That's
the
great.
material. It's just a matter of getting it done. So we'll probably be doing a ribbon cutting there in the next couple of weeks. If you guys.
So
keep
is
it
that,
up.
do you mean the basketball court?
And the tennis.
The
That's one.
Flash Road,
Yeah, that
Both.
one. Oh, that one, that
basketball,
combined.
tennis, pickle.
Yeah, okay. That's right. I was actually confusing them. So you did Spring Road and
Spring
then,
Road.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Spring Road. Spring Road's like a victory because we worked with swim and the tree task force and like totally, like we built it out of nothing. Flash is a victory because it need to be done, but it's just like a, you know, new version of what already existed, so.
Right.
But spring was nice because it was like, that was challenging, getting like, you know, like everybody kind of came together and, you know, working with the neighbors and stuff.
It was great just because it was all these organizations working
Yeah.
together. That was really.
That's the cool story. of it.
Yeah.
Right. Very
We had to get creative with that and it worked out.
Now you just need to start up a men's hoop league and some.
I'm sure, I mean, the place has been busy since we
Has it? Yeah.
built it.
It's really nice.
Well, and I see that you did landscaping behind it with the trees to sort of block off. Yeah, it does. It's. a
Yeah,
great-
well, that's.
So
Spring
does that have,
donated that.
does that have lighting at night?
No.
No, okay. But
there's
the other one
lighting,
does.
The other one has lighting.
So you can do all winter long.
You were talking, the last time we talked about moving the gate back,
Mhm.
is that
A plan or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It would be nice.
I'm
to
always,
have
I always have
Yeah.
I always have like an ace in the hole, Nancy. So the sewer job that's happening on the Linway, we're letting them use the compost site as like their laydown area. So they're gonna have to make repairs to it if anything happens, and they said like they may lay new stone dust down and stuff once they're all done. So I'm gonna try and get them to pay for a new gate too.
Great.
And maybe right there on the right side, so when you pull in, we put a little fence on the right, there's like that grass area where we
Yeah.
parked.
Yeah.
We might do some stone there and just let it be, you know, open public parking, not resident required, but just open. And then people can, you know, use.
Yeah, that would be great.
Looks like we have
Kathy
Kathy
Martin.
Martin.
Can she hear us?
You should be able to.
Yeah, should be able to.
I love the fixed look at the screen that we get with our
Yeah.
Zoom viewers.
I also like to see where they point their camera, you know, like in your house, I see your ceiling, you know, and someone else's house, you see different.
Yeah, no, I stand in it. That's at
Oh,
our
okay.
office. So I always stand all day long at my desk. So that's why.
Hi.
Hey there.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Awesome, we're just singing your praises for cutting the ribbon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Austin, that's
We're carrying
wonderful.
the flag.
Why don't
Missed the
you-
last meetings.
Now, why is it not going back to us?
You're at the top, so if you go,
If we do that?
I'm gonna sway you in.
if you go to the top right corner where it's.
Yeah.
You can change how you have this set up. So right now it's on speaker view.
Yeah, but Kathy's not speaking.
Right, so you wanna do gallery view.
Why didn't speak work?
And then
I'm not sure why.
Yeah.
print and then sign.
Zoom doesn't-
Well, we have to be sure that our
She
microphone
has to
is
go to
working.
everybody.
It is.
How do you know that?
I saw yours, so you know the cheaper.
Well, top right
What other committees are you in?
Yeah.
is, there's one, you can see where it says town hall host.
Oh, yeah.
See, I can see
I
the
saw a bunch.
microphone thing,
This
like
one.
going up and down.
Oh, I see.
And then plus when we did the.
Yeah,
when we did
oh,
this
that's
month,
right.
it's to be zoomed in on.
Hello, testing, speaking. It's not doing anything. Not going back.
Yeah, but
Why doesn't it go back to us?
we need some new.
Are you on, what do you use?
Stuff like that, so.
What do you?
Bring up the Tony. so-
Would you switch to speaker view?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm on speaker view.
I would go to gallery view.
Two,
Sure.
and I have a list of all committees and members.
That works.
Agencies, so,
That works.
Kathleen, can you hear
take a
us?
look at it.
Yes, I can.
Oh, great.
We can
Good,
see you.
we're live.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank
So
you.
we're very glad to see you,
Coming to you
Kathy.
live from Town Hall at CPC.
All right,
Still takes a
everyone.
while.
Yeah, still.
How many do we have here?
It'll take a while.
Yeah. All right, stay with
Doing
it.
well. Yeah, thank
Be
you.
well.
So then if you, like, if you know how to like mute people that are here, so you can scroll over her
Right.
name and hit mute, then she's muted. Or if you want her to talk, you hit ask to unmute.
Wait a minute, who's asking to unmute? She
If
is or we
you,
are?
no, if you wanted her to speak,
Oh, I see,
you could ask her to unmute.
I see.
All right, I'm gonna go. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Thanks, Sam. See you tomorrow.
Okay, so we have 5 of our 7 here, so we're
Yes.
within the room. And can we see, I guess Ellen Goldberg is on, so that's great. She's by Zoom.
Yes,
I
hi.
suggest that for the purpose of the minutes, that you read the names of everybody who's here.
Yes, thank you. And let me see, is Mickey Long on?
No, there's just those 3 over on the right.
So
Us, Ellen, and Catherine.
Okay, great, so.
And I think, to be safe, still follow the roll call rule when you
Yeah.
guys do a vote.
by name.
Yeah,
why-
just because they're
Right.
hybrid, so that would probably take precedent over.
Why don't you just calm down and go away?
All right, well then, let's rock and roll. Thank you very much, Tony. for
Tony,
getting
Do
us
you need
started.
me for anything? Anything on your agenda?
Oh,
Well, if you want to stick around for an update on projects.
I can stick around for a little, I can't stay too.
Okay, we won't
late,
keep you
but-
long. Okay, great. So
Oh,
now we
Mickey's
have
here.
Mickey. Wonderful. So I'm Lynn Spencer. I chair the Community Preservation Committee. We are here tonight. And in attendance is Paul Spurn, clerk, Ellen Steves representing the Conservation Commission, Nancy Cantalmo representing Open Space, Austin Antrim at large, and myself as a representative of the Historical Commission. By Zoom, we have Ellen Goldberg, a committee member at large, and Mickey Long representing the housing. Hi, Mickey.
Hi.
Joining us is Tony Barlotta, who has really set a marvelous thing up here in Town Hall so that we can Zoom and be with you both by Zoom as well as in person. So I will start the meeting with the executive order. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general laws, chapter 30A, section 18, and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Nahant Community Preservation Committee is being conducted via remote participation. While we have some in-person attendance, every effort is being made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen or view this meeting while in progress may do so by remote access. I will also note that this meeting was posted for the Nahant Community Center at 41 Valley Road. There is a notice that was put on that building to indicate that the in-person meeting has been moved to Town Hall, which has got a very good setup for for a hybrid meeting such as this. So with that, let us go on to our agenda, which starts with old business, the minutes of the prior meeting.
yeah. And you got those electronically, and those of you here are getting a hard copy.
Okay. So I'm looking, these are the minutes of the March 18th, 2021 meeting.
Oh, no.
Yeah, what am
No,
I
that's
looking?
wrong. That's the wrong date. Okay, so that's the first change. This is, the last meeting we had was October 18th.
Right, that's what I was hoping it would be.
It is.
Oh,
Indeed,
excellent.
it is.
Great. So I've got the minutes of the October 18th meeting, which had, I attended along with Paul Spurns, Ellen Steves, Nancy Catalmo. So committee members, if you want to read your minutes, did you get them out, Ellen?
Yeah, I just saw them today.
Okay.
Blah, blah, blah.
I remember the days where they used to be read out loud. Yeah. We'll see somebody else.
Okay, so it was actually the Spring Road.
Yeah, it's a spring road.
So it's a Spring Road. Spring Road is just basketball, right?
Yes,
Yes,
Oh, okay. So it wasn't the tennis courts.
yeah. I got that confused.
I'll change that.
You did a really good job on the funding available. Thank you. Are there any suggestions or edits on these minutes, other than the change of the date to October 18th?
Move to accept.
Can I get a second on that?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Can I do this by unanimously, or do I have to roll call this?
Well, this is Ellen Goldberg. I abstained since I was not here last week.
Okay, thank you. Then I'm going to, thank you, Ellen. I'm going to ask for a roll call vote on this. Paul Spurn,
Aye.
Nancy Catalma,
Yes.
Ellen Steves.
Yes.
Austin Antrim.
I'm gonna abstain as well. I was not present.
Mickey Long.
I wasn't present, but I don't understand the rule that requires abstaining. We were told otherwise by folks who asked for other committees. So I'll vote aye.
Okay. And I vote aye. So there we are. Minutes pass. Budget update. And with this, really, I'm going to ask you, Tony, to just comment about, the current projects that are underway, because that really relates to budget
Yeah.
in part, and then we'll get on to the new budget. So this is the update of ongoing projects, and I can give you as a scorecard. Help. I can lead you through it. So, the Little League.
Little League, we didn't manage the Little League backstop, but it's installed.
So that's accomplished. That was,
I don't know if they came in, under or over budget, but I've seen the new backstops installed already.
right, and they remember that's a matching grant, so they had money going into this. This was an article for $32,375. And the Little League was matching it by about $10,000. So that's good. Next is 21C, the American Legion sign. That is up. We all drive by it oftentimes, twice a day.
Looks good.
What's
Good.
what's the Little League designation? What's that number?
It was 21B. And the American Legion sign is 21C.
Yeah.
21D is the tennis and basketball courts.
On Flash Road, they've been moving right along. A lot of supply chain issues, but they have all the material. And we're being told it should meet substantial completion by the end of this week.
That's fantastic. And I will just remind us all that that is a two-part grant. There was an initial appropriation of $180,000. And then this past spring, we appropriated another $120,000 in order to fund that project adequately. The next article is.
And before you move on.
Oh, sorry.
Alan and Mickey, will probably do a ribbon cutting for that as well in the upcoming weeks. So keep an eye out for your email. If you're available, please come to the event.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one is 21F, the public library bond, and that's an existing bond. So this is $55,200 that is just coming out of it to pay back that $400,000 bond. Ellingwood Chapel. This is 21G.
No activity on that.
Who's responsible for getting that cooking?
So that came in through Cultural Council, I believe. But it also kind of has it's kind of like an extension of the previous work that we had done on the chapel. That was exterior work, right?
So this is a combination of some exterior and then sprucing up the interior and water damage.
But I don't expect the Cultural Council to manage that project, so it'll be something that we probably take on. It kind of finds itself as part of another grant that has to do with the cemetery wall, town hall, and library. which is in the process of going out to bid. And the specs for that bid are primarily focused, the goal of, we have to get creative with this. Because if you put out a bid that the specs are too complicated, it just drives the price way up. So we said, why don't we first put out, and especially because of the historical commission, the Mass Historical Commission grant, the focus of it is prioritizing the library work. And then some of that library work, which is like roofing, rain, water improvements, is similar to the work that needs to be done here at the town hall. So we are bidding that spec out, and then it's going into the central registrar Thursday. Bids will be due, file subbids will be due Friday, December 3rd, general bids due Friday, December 10th.
Right.
So, long story short is we hope that those bids will come in less than what is authorized for that big combo work. And then we could potentially, because the Ellingwood Chapel is a lot of stone work, you know, if there's leftover money in this borrowing, we could combine those two and do a bid for that job.
Okay. So just let me jump in and say, the library project is funded in part by Massachusetts Preservation Projects Fund grant. So have you got the agreement signed with the state?
Yeah, so Ross Deckel is involved. He had to review the specs and approve them before they could go out to bid. And even though the town hall isn't part of that grant, because we're under the same, you know, because we have a preservation restriction here, he wanted to see that too. So yeah, MHC is involved.
Right,
in
that's
that process,
wonderful.
Yeah,
That's all good news.
and I'm sure they'll want to be involved in Ellingwood Chapel.
Because there's also a preservation restriction on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So we're trying to, you know, the funding is per property kind of, but the bids, you want to kind of do it on the type of work that's going to happen.
Right.
So the contractor,
Yeah.
so that's how we're again, trying to be creative to get the best bang for our buck.
Well, that's great.
Right, in other words, the contractors don't know or care where the money comes from as long as the check comes in. And
If
so-
you put a bid out that's stonework, gutter work, roof work, interior work, and it's gonna be all sub-bidded out, the bids you get are gonna be massive, because everybody's gonna upcharge that subcontractor. So if we can kind of divide it that way, we can maybe save a little bit of money.
Okay. All right, so the next one is 21H, the Dory Club gangway and floating docks. Austin, you must know something about this.
I don't have much detail. It does look like repairs are made to the gangway. There's no davit in place, so I'm not sure what the status of that portion of the work is, but yeah, the gangway looks great, worked great. I don't think it sustained any more damage.
I haven't heard anything about like engineering study or anything.
Now, that was being funded by the Dory Club, so. Okay. All right, the next two have to do with housing, Mickey. We've got the 21I is the window replacement project. And then the next one is the building envelope at Spring and Greystone Roads.
Yeah, so I've been communicating with the executive director, Kelly Collins. She is dealing with the state, who I'm surprised are much more flexible than I would have anticipated. But I'm wondering when she's going to contact you, Lynn, and you, Tony, for, you know, whatever it is you guys think they should be using. She told me she doesn't see a problem with the materials you guys were suggesting, you know,
Okay.
especially the siding material. They did at first try to pull something that I said, no, this has already been approved by town meeting, and any changes to the article would have to go through town meeting, and you would risk losing what was already voted on. So they immediately pulled back from that. So I'm a little surprised she hasn't contacted Tony. Tony, has she contacted you?
I sat with her about trash, like trash bills and rates and stuff. We talked a little bit about this. She's experiencing the same, supply chain issues and upcharge issues that everybody is dealing with.
Right.
So, whether it be the cedar shingles, I think, very tough to come by and very expensive. So I'm sure no matter what material she's trying to use, it's probably delayed and it's probably up in price.
For the committee members who, some of them are not a current committee, but I still want to continue with the concerns of theirs. Is it your sense that she understands she will not post an ad to proceed absent your approval and the chair's approval of whatever the final out to bid configuration is? Is that your understanding, Tony?
Yes.
Yes.
She mentioned that to me, that before she can do anything, she kind of needs the CPC's okay.
Right.
Moving forward.
Right.
Uh,
Written into the article.
I did tell her if, when she was talking about the issues she's having with cedar shingles and pricing, I told her, I know it's already been decided upon with going with cedar. I said, but if maybe the committee would be open to a cedar looking, composite or something, bring them your situation and talk to them about, if you could get cedar looking composite and stay within your budget and within your time frame, and cedar shingles are outside your budget and outside your time frame, the CPC may be willing to talk to you about that. But I don't know if she's pulled that information. So.
Okay.
But yeah, she's not gonna do anything until you guys.
Our meetings are usually scheduled for first Monday, which would be tonight, but we postponed it till next week, unrelated to any of the CPC.
Okay. Well, keep us in touch about this, okay? It's going to be hard for us to change to a plastic material, quite honestly.
Yeah, that's completely the three of you and the state, the four of you, I should say. So the housing executive director, the town administrator, the CPC chair, and the state. Who I think will be a background player myself.
Why would it be hard to switch to plastic?
Because we specifically wrote the article so it wouldn't be plastic.
Article doesn't say the type of material in it.
The
It just
article says that
has
it has to be approved, but we
by
actually,
you guys.
we had actually reviewed and discussed it in the meetings. Because initially it was basically a fake shingle.
Right.
Right.
But
And
the article doesn't, you wouldn't have to go to town meeting.
well, we can have an argument about this if you want to.
I'm not arguing, I'm just saying.
No, it was a big deal.
Material in the article.
It was quite
It was a big
specifically.
deal. Yeah,
It was-
it was a big deal for committee members that the materials used would be consistent with the ambiance of the town, and they specifically spoke about wood product shingles, like the cedar product shingles. So, and that's why folks are comfortable with Lynn speaking for the CPC on this. She's going to remain loyal to that.
I respect that it was a big deal and an issue of importance to the committee. I was just saying, I don't think it requires a town meeting vote.
Okay, I appreciate that. That's a good clarification. Prices are stable, prices are varying. And I think quite honestly, waiting a little bit, you'll find that the supply chain will refill and prices will get to a better place. That's what we're seeing. I see
Yeah.
this all the time.
Yeah.
So, but you are right, it's a tough market right now. Gosh, well, where were we?
J, now we're up to K.
This is 21K is Bailey's Hill, Fort Ruckman. And I know, Nancy, you had reported that the open space was trying to sort of move this.
Right,
forward.
so we made a lot of progress this week.
Oh, good,
Oh.
oh, good, that's great.
Good.
Right, so we had a meeting with Ellen and I met with Tony, Ellen Antrim and I met with Tony. Then we met with Kristen Kent. We had made a mistake when we wrote this grant by not including her in the evaluation. Because she has a different idea about it and does not want us to take away so much at one time.
Mhm.
So when Ellen and I met with her, she wants the vines taken away, she wants the bottom cleared, she wants the invasives worked on. She has approved using chemical treatment for the Japanese knotweed, which might mean sort of in stages over years and not immediately planting like we had hoped to do, take it away this year, plant next year. So that's gonna change the character of our work. So we asked her, we'd like to write a grant, continue other things, and we came up with perhaps the pathway that is used to go up is deteriorating and in bad shape. And Zach and the DPW have done some to maintain it, but it needs some more stabilization and work. So she suggested if we write a grant for the upcoming period, next period, that might be a grant to write, and it would not interfere with the work going on as we're planning it. So she was going to talk to Zach and say that we agree in open space that to go ahead with the revised plan. And so we were leaving it with her to speak to Zach to get things going, and they do hope to get it started this season.
Well, that is progress.
That's great. I'm glad you got to connect with her.
Yeah,
So it wasn't as bad as you thought. It's, we're still making progress.
yeah, we can do it. It's just not gonna be slam dunk, when you're next year.
Yeah.
It's more complicated the way she believes it should be done, so.
Hmm.
So we'll just do it that way and also not make the mistake of not including her when we write these things.
Okay. I appreciate that. Let me see, Tony, Lowlands softball fields, 21L.
Well, it's all, the benches are in, the backstops are in, the fence is in. Everything looks awesome down there.
Yeah,
It looks
it's
really
really nice.
We had the fire and police charity softball game down there a couple weekends ago, and it looked like Fenway Park down there. It looks great. Zach's doing a ton of cutting, looming, seeding work. It does need more clay material on the infields, and I think Zach might have a small balance of like a couple grand or something, so it might be a spring, wait until spring and then lay it down. But 99% of the way.
That's great. Yeah, it looks really nice.
Thank you. Great, moving right along. 21M, Town Hall ADA improvements. This is a fairly substantial grant.
So this, similar to the story I told with Ellingwood Chapel, part of the work that is going to be done for ADA at the ramp is it would be a similar contractor that might help with some of the envelope water work, like in the Council on Aging. So there's the envelope assessment pointed towards the window casings, the wall that is underneath Diane's office is leaking from the outside into the COA. So whoever would build that ramp, it's kind of general construction, similar work. So again, the idea is if there's a balance in the library, town hall, big borrowing, we may be able to lump this together with that job, same scope of work.
We have a separate appropriation of $165,000 for ADA work. So
Yes,
it was anticipated that that ramp would be part of it, but there were other
Yes.
improvements as well.
but it's all fairly standard contractor work that you could lump this other work into the scope.
Right. So the one thing that I had mentioned to you in a phone conversation I'd like to share with this group is anyone who has had a meeting in town and the main part of the town hall knows that the acoustics are challenging at best. And so I was suggesting that ADA or handicapped access is also oral. And that we might think about, once we sort of get the parsing of this budget, that we might consider some kind of auditory system or sound dampening system to help improve the sound quality and the ability for everyone to hear. And that's the emphasis.
I'd like to maybe apply for a CPC grant this year to have someone come in and essentially like do an audio assessment and recommend, provide us some type of recommendation for improvements. And then take those improvements, we have to make sure that whatever those improvements are, they fit the character of the room.
Right.
So then I'd like to review those with this committee and potentially come back for money to then make those improvements. I do think one of those is gonna be a previous grant you guys have seen from us is the curtain on the stage. I think that's probably gonna make a big improvement for us if we could get that done. But we could wait and get the assessment done first.
Right, I think the assessment is pretty crucial. And I would also suggest that it shouldn't be just limited to the sound quality in the lower space. If the upper portion of the stage was made accessible, which it could with a wheelchair lift to the stage, that upper room could also be used for meetings in the way that it used to be. And for smaller meetings, that's acoustically a lot more successful than the bigger room. So just think about that. Because for a $20,000 wheelchair lift, you could make that work.
Didn't Julie say there was one in the Johnson School that was not being used? That
She did.
possibly could be moved here?
That's a great point, Nancy.
I think having it at the Johnson School was more important than having it here at the town hall.
Yeah.
And I don't think we have, especially with Zoom now and this ability to conduct meetings virtually. I don't think having a meeting space on the stage is, a huge need at the moment. But I still think that, having it ADA accessible is important.
Well, so that $165,000 was appropriated based on the recommendations that came out of the study that had been done. So I know you'll be working to prioritize those.
Yeah, so it's the outside, it's the ramp, it's the doorway at the top of the ramp, it's the doorways at the Council on Aging. I think it might be the doorway that comes into the main hall too. There's a couple of different things. I haven't looked at it in a little bit.
Yeah. So,
Can I say something about ADA stuff? So part of the open space plan is the ADA self-evaluation of our town. And since we talked, we found out that it is the job of our guy from MAPC to go around town and do all that. We don't have to have this like really strict plan for what we're gonna do or a really strict evaluation, because we talked about, should we have somebody come from the outside and do an ADA thing? And maybe we might later on, but for the purposes of our plan, we just need this guy to come and write down, you know, these are the problems, this is, you know, we need to deal with these and that's acceptable. So,
What is this? NEPC?
so
And
Massachusetts Area Planning Council
Okay,
is hired by the Open Space Committee. And this is a practice that happens in every town these days because it's too sophisticated technically for us to do this by ourselves, especially in a town if we're volunteers and not town workers like in other towns. So this person, I think the grant came from CPC.
Yes,
Okay, it's like $30,000
you have
or
a
something.
$30,000
Right.
grant.
It's pretty expensive, but anyway, so that person helps us write the grant, do the study that we just did, the town survey, put everything together, the graphics and everything. So that person will help us with the ADA part of that report that we hope to get out fairly soon.
so this is a resource to help you with all of your projects?
The grant, the Open Space and Recreation Committee, Plan Committee is like the name of the committee, and our main job is every 7 years now to write
Right.
an open
plan.
space.
An open space plan. We plan to use the in-between years to write grants to carry out some of
I
these
see.
things. But this person will help us with our ADA evaluation. We certainly want this information to be available to him.
So there's an ADA accessibility plan that every town, you know, should develop at some point. And as part of the open space plan, there's ADA items to address, I imagine, more specific to open space areas that fall under that plan. The ADA accessory plan is townwide. So it would include buildings, you know, that sort of thing. It sounds like your consultant has been hired by other communities to do
Yeah.
that for them.
And we found out this week that he's gonna help us with that.
So is it specific to just the open space
Well,
areas?
it
Or will
is-
he do beyond that?
I think it's just open space, so it's not gonna be inclusive for the town. But it's like how to accessibility, rights of way, park benches, playgrounds.
Yes.
Note from Kathleen.
Yes,
So it may not be a total plan that the town would need, but it will be good for us to submit in our plan to get approved.
So Massachusetts Developmental Disabilities Council and the Massachusetts Office of Disability
it's participant screen.
will
Yeah.
offer funding opportunities for,
She's saying
like,
that
would
we
pay
disabled it.
for an ADA.
Okay.
Ability to
So-
share her screen.
For an ADA plan to be developed.
Well, she's off the screen.
So we could apply for that and then just use the money to hire the consultant you already have.
Or maybe in conjunction with whatever we get from him, which we've already paid for the rest of the stuff in town. You know? We'll figure it out, but.
Sorry to interrupt, but we have a note up here that says, Tony, that the host has disabled participant screen sharing. Can you please enable it?
Kathleen, why do you want to share your screen?
Now she's on mute.
Now she's on mute. I guess. Well. To be determined.
So that's up to you as the host, if you wanted to share, if you wanted a participant to share their screen for some reason, you can,
Yeah, that's
Enable.
fine.
Well, that's fine.
but it's disabled. So that people can't just take over your meeting.
No. Oh, and they could share the screen even without our permission.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
So. Why don't we reconnect on that?
Yes, great, thank you.
That's an interesting point. So just pushing along here, little Nahant playground.
Little Knot Playground, we talked to a contractor who offers playground equipment, explained to him our budget and the space that we have available to us in the playground. He gave us a few different options to choose from. The next step was to have a community meeting with like the Little Nahant residents to see of those options, which they prefer.
Okay.
I imagine, we're not gonna do that work though until
Next spring.
well, so we're trying to get the short, that dune right behind the playground, we're trying to get that built this winter, rebuilt.
Okay,
And we really want that, that's protection for the playground, so it doesn't make sense to put new topping on the ground if it can be washed out this winter. So we want to get that job done first. But in the meantime, we can certainly meet with the community, find out which option they like, and at least get it ordered, because I'm sure there's gonna be a huge back order on that too. And then, you know, as soon as, whenever we have it, we can install it once we're ready to do that.
okay,
We also spoke, when I spoke with Nancy and Ellen Antrim, a big comment that they got through their open space study was missing age groups in playground equipment here and there. Different playgrounds kind of jumping from like a 1 to 3 year old equipment to, you know, 8 to 10-year-old equipment, and kind of missing that middle gap. And then, you know, existing equipment maybe needing some repairs. So we did talk a little bit about a potential grant application in the spring. About regarding like, we can talk about it at another meeting, but we kind of said, we talked to you guys about maybe applying for like a general, you know, amount of money that would be for playground equipment at existing playgrounds, and then utilize that funds in coordination with the open space committee per their recommendations. So it's an idea for applications.
so this would be things like the one on Pleasant Street, Flash Road, the Flash Road. So, okay. All right, well, looking forward to the open space plan.
Sorry.
I can imagine that's a huge amount of work that you're doing. Well, that brings us to the end of our long list. We had, you know, very long list of articles last year because of the 2 years. that we're covering. The only other thing, Tony, is we had mentioned at the last meeting that we have some older articles, such as the Council on Aging Kitchen. And I understand that there's going, that project is going to be more limited in scope than what was initially planned. Do you have any latest on that yourself?
I go back and forth on this project. You know, part of me wants to see if we have some extra free cash in this year's budget and maybe supplement your previous award and just get the project done, because that kitchen really needs work. But on the other hand, you know, there are potential prospects out there for the Council on Aging to move into, you know, either future buildings or join the school. And so you kind of caught in this, like, how much do you want to invest in this now if they were to move? We I haven't talked with Council on Aging really about this second part yet. But, you know, if we were to do something like this, if we were to add more money to it from the general fund, you know, we could think about like it being as a community kitchen almost, where then we could rent it out for people who are doing, you know, catering for like a bake sale or something like that. Because we have so many events in town that people want to sell food, but they don't have a approved kitchen. So you kind of create this community. We could do, if we're gonna spend the money there, we could kind of turn into a revenue source by in the afternoons, renting the space out to cooks. And or if council on aging were to leave and go to a different building, we still have the space for that.
Interesting.
Trying to come up with like a justification for investing in it now, because the prospects are, you know, they're close, but they're far away timing wise, and the kitchen is really bad. And
I'm a little unclear, Madam Chair. So Tony, are you saying the Council of Aging prospects for moving out of Town Hall are high?
I wouldn't say they're high, but they're possible. You know, we're doing a lot of talking about, you know, senior housing issues in town and trying to create, you know, a way to bring that into the community. And if we were to do that, it would be the perfect opportunity to include a center, you know, a senior center in that process. They're very limited in the space, and so are here. So.
The reason for my question is, if we go to town meeting saying, let's fix this place up for use for the seniors, and we know that they're not going to be using it, I'm feeling a little duped, if you will, if there's a plan to just fix it up without the need for the seniors now. You know, I could see another grant.
That's why I said, that's why I started off with, you know, it's challenging. I go back and forth on it. But the amount of money that they have from CPC, you know, really isn't enough to do the kitchen right. So that's why, you know, I debate potentially supplementing it.
So I would also caution us on this, because you might remember this was a fine line in terms of whether this met CPA categories.
Well, that's why I'm saying supplement it with like a free cash
Right.
instead of coming back to you for more.
Because we granted $50,000 and the Council on Aging had approximately the same amount that they were bringing into this for match. So it was $100,000 project. But I've understood that as the design got developed, it was more expensive than that. Our money is really limited to those modifications that are necessary for code purposes for life safety and health. That's it. We're not buying appliances, we're not buying counters. So it's kind of somewhat of a narrow interpretation in order to meet this set of guidelines.
And we just got new appliances in there through a Green Communities grant.
Yeah.
So
Great.
again, like thinking creative about funding sources. So
Has the Council of Aging put up any money consistent with the grant?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
The friends, yeah. So I know the last time we spoke was more heading in the direction of only using a portion of the grant and then maybe pulling it back into CPC. Right. Now I'm like going the other way. I keep going back and forth on, you know, and honestly, the latest issue was the stove that they have now, we had a pretty big gas leak in the town hall not that long ago, and that's very concerning for me. I mean, the appliance, the stove and stuff that they have in there is dated. And
Well, that's worth paying very close attention to.
so when that happened, I was like, all right, maybe we should just, you know, get this done, because it's now becoming a concern of, you know, the safety for the building. So if you'll allow me to ask you to kind of hold for a little bit here, well, we can kind of think about this.
No, we're not proposing to rescind this at this point, but we want to track large projects like this. Otherwise, we have a handful of smaller things that have, $5,000, $3,000. This one is a $50,000.
Yeah, I'm concerned with, with people in town thinking that, wait a minute, this was meant to do this, they didn't do this, instead they used the money to do this, that. I wouldn't want to be caught up in anything like that. If you can't, if we need to go back to say, let's just reconfigure this grant, try to stay within not try, clearly stay within parameters that were allowed. But I'm just getting this uneasy sense that money is being used without the intended original purpose.
I don't think any of the money's been spent yet.
Yeah, there's been no expenditure against our grants, Mickey. Those come to me from Allison.
Yeah.
So there's been nothing spent.
So nothing's been spent yet. They got a architect to come in and look at it and figure out how to bring it up to code and design it and talk about how to bid it out. And that budget exploded. It got beyond the budget approved by CPC and the Friends. And then, so it's kind of been on hold.
So no money will be spent unless it's consistent with the grant. If it's not going to be consistent with the grant, it's coming back for, town to decide. Okay, I was getting this feeling that we're going to use it. They're going to move out. Everybody knows about this, and
No.
it shouldn't gone through PPC.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No. It's more been a conversation about, are we gonna do this project? Or are we gonna bring the money back to CPC? If we're gonna do the project, it may require more funds, which wouldn't come from CPC, but would come from the town budget.
No, you're clear.
And we don't know if we're gonna have that flexibility yet for capital improvement. So that's why I'm saying, let's not pull it back quite yet.
Thank you.
Can I ask one question? And it's really, I think it's just curiosity that's driving me here, not the notion that this is the purview of my committee. And that is, we know the demographics of the school. We know how many kids we're going to have in the school over the next short while. I don't know how long. We know how many old people we've got. Why can't we make a decision as to whether the COA belongs in the school or not?
So the demographics of the school are actually going up as far as class, size of classrooms. They're doubling on the kindergarten preschool side, so we actually have this baby boom kind of coming through.
Okay.
But regardless of that, the plans for the COA to go to the school would require like a addition off of the gym, basically, like the
Okay.
back library. So it's not a simple project.
Okay.
It's a pretty significant project, so.
And whose budget would
Fairly
that,
cheap to keep them here.
Okay.
What's that, Mickey?
whose budget would that come out of if they decided to go to the school committee or town or council?
Town. Town, I mean, that would be, that could even be. That'd be a significant project, so that could be, that would be maybe an override, maybe a stabilization expense, maybe a large borrowing approval article. That'd be a significant project.
Sounds like you're answering your own question as to what you should do.
I think so.
Well, going to the school, but if we were, talking about a senior living housing development of some sort, the developer could pay for a senior center.
Wow, this is getting kind of exciting.
Yeah, it's getting interesting.
Very getting interesting, but thank you, Tony. I'm gonna move this along.
I hope that, there isn't a article in the item tomorrow saying
I hope
the
not
town is gonna be, doing housing development, but, it is something that when you look when you're talking about big capital plan items like this, you gotta look 5 years out, 10 years out. So it is one of those things.
I appreciate that. Mickey, with that and committee, I think that we want to move on through our agenda to
Yeah.
the next stage. And you are very welcome to stay. Now we're going to talk about the next round of grant making.
I actually did want to talk to you about the next round.
Okay.
Not project, but process.
Good.
Timing, basically.
Sure.
Because last year, I think we was it last year? Well, last year we had 2 years worth of stuff.
We did. We had 2 years.
Yeah.
So could I just sort of launch forth with what
Go
we
ahead,
are
I'll do
thinking
something.
about? At our last meeting, we talked about kicking off the next round for fiscal 23 grant making by having a public meeting on November 15th, and then having grants due on January 28th. So I'm going to suggest, given the fact that, that's only 2 weeks' notice, I'd like to suggest to the committee that we move that public meeting date to November 22nd. And I'd also like to acknowledge Tony and Kristen Taylor, because we now have the services of Kristen to help us with meeting minutes, as well as sending this notice out to the Lynn item. I had drafted our kind of standard notice that goes to committee members, the chairman of committees, as well as to the nonprofits in town. But usually with that notice, we send a copy of the grant application itself, so the committee members would have that. And that's where Ellen Goldberg comes in, because she is the genius at taking our grant application and making it a fillable, outable form online. I did send a copy to the group earlier, just with some of the copy edits that I was thinking about, which is mainly changing dates. Instead of fiscal year 2022, you're moving it to 2023. And you're giving a deadline of January 28th. So with that, Tony, does that kind of schedule make sense to you?
Yes, I guess I would ask, how much time are you? I work myself back from the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
no,
what
and we do
did.
too. And
We
this
tried to
is
do
our
that.
normal thing is we have them due at the end of January. We spend a month to a month and a half with review. We get to FinCom and we have their comments and feedback. And then we actually draft the notice for the warrant. And this would be for your May town meeting.
Yeah, so May town meeting is 21st of May.
Great.
Which means the warrant book and the warrant needs to be posted by the 6th
Of May.
of May, which means it needs to go to the printer probably somewhere in the week of April 4th.
April 4th?
Or April 11th, yeah, they usually need depending on how big the book is, they usually need like 3 weeks.
She wants this maybe.
And the charter says that the warrant needs to be posted 14 days in advance, and the book needs to be delivered 7 days in advance. So they usually ask for it 3 weeks in advance so that they can spend 2 weeks printing, getting it together, and then a week getting it mailed out. But that's actually 4 weeks before the actual meeting, because that needs to be mailed out a week before, so.
4 weeks before is April 21st. Your town meeting is May 21st.
Right, but the books need to be on doorsteps May 13th. Which means they need to be hitting the mailroom by May 6th. And then he needs, what did I say, 2 weeks to print, which means he needs them by like the week of May 18th.
April 18th.
April 18th, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Which usually means the FinCom needs it from you guys by the week of April 4th, because they usually then write their recommendations,
Right.
which means you guys give it to the Board of Selectmen to approve and send to the FinCom is gonna be, yeah, that first full week of April, but ideally like the last week of March.
Well, if we had good applications, fully complete, instead of having to sort of go to individual people to help coach them through a good application, we can make that in, a 2-month process. It's when we have incomplete applications and we're trying to be helpful to people that it extends. So,
Yeah, and you shouldn't have, last year you had 2 years worth of applications. You had one item that was, a very hot topic in town.
Mhm.
It, hopefully it's not as, doesn't call for as many meetings this year.
I think that is our hope, but we never know. Hopes.
So if you
are-
if you get applications to you by the end of January, that gives you the month of February and March to finalize essentially.
Yeah, and that has been the kind of process that we've worked on before.
So are we on for changing the 15th to November,
Second,
Yeah, 22nd.
yeah. I think what Tony was coaching us through was actually the larger issue, Mickey, of, getting the reviews, the applications in on the 28th of January, and then spending February and March doing the reviews and recommendations to FinCom. So that's what you were hearing.
And is there any way, do you? Any issue with moving that January 28th date earlier in January, or is that? What gets done between now and then?
How much? Hopefully helping,
vacations?
yeah, hopefully, encouraging people to do a full and complete application. So, we will have our public meeting on the 22nd, and that basically gathers material from the public and gives them coaching. We get a sense, sorry about my dog. We get a sense of the kinds of applications we'll be seeing. We also, as you know, have money available to help people prepare a solid application. So that's the other thing we talk about on the 22nd. And given the fact that, that really gives basically December and January to prepare grant applications, that's not overly generous. It's 2 months.
Yeah, and. No, I understand that. And plus, once the due date passes, it's really not fair to. Help people adjust their applications after that, because it's competitive grant.
It is
so-
competitive.
So you want to get that done before they're due. I get it. I understand.
So I think what we'll do is, are we in agreement that we can change this date to the 22nd?
Oh, yeah.
We'll work with Kristen to get that out to the committee members. I'd like to now turn to the important part of this meeting, though, and that is the grant application itself. Ellen, I don't know if you're on.
I'm on.
Yep,
Great.
here she is.
Great. You have been the one that has been so helpful in actually making this an online fillable application. I was sending out some notes regarding date changes and year changes on this. But I would now ask the committee if they are seeing anything within the application itself in terms of the substantive questions that they would like to propose altering in some way. And we can put this on the screen right now. You just can't see it. It can be on the screen, but we can.
Drag that thing on. the
Get it
right.
out of there.
We can drag it over to the left.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh, you're sharing. We can see it.
Okay, good, great. So we're lucky, we can have an electronic submission to Kristen Taylor at that email address. We need to start combing through this and changing fiscal year 2022 to 2023. Those are the little flags are what I put on it to change those dates.
So the way they would send this to Kristen is to fill it out online and then send it as a file attached to an email?
Yeah, so they would actually download it and fill it out themselves and then email it to Kristen.
And that seems to have worked pretty well.
Yeah, it worked well. We did have one complaint about one of the fields. I think it was in the description, the project description field, where he said it was like not enough room, or it scrolled or it didn't scroll. So I just want the opportunity to just double check some of those fields to make sure they're user friendly.
I went into that. So what happens is it doesn't, you'll be typing in the box, and when you get to the end of the box, like when you fill up the whole space, you can keep typing, but you can't see what you're typing in.
It's because it becomes so tiny because it doesn't go to the next line or something. It doesn't do word wrap.
So what we've done, we basically like wrote our answer on Word and then just copy pasted it into the box.
Oh, I see. Okay, I want to take a look and see if I can figure those things out, because those can be, I don't want anything to be a roadblock on the application to people. And they became annoyances to a couple of people.
Ellen, how big a deal would it be to change the system, eliminate a couple of steps and just have a submit box on the application?
You mean a submit box on the application? So do you mean by that having it be an online application only, or do you mean by that having a button on the PDF that sends the email?
Either one would be a lot simpler than downloading it, putting it in another program, filling it out, getting an email, and finding the file, which is what you described initially, I believe.
Yes, it is. And I think it's going to depend on what the back end of their website, their new website, is built on and what we can do. Tony, do you know about that?
I was just thinking that, we could probably create a fillable fillable form that would automatically email it to, whoever you designate that to, or multiple people.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you look,
it may not be able to look like this though.
yeah, if you look through it, there's a lot of content. So it's not, it's more complicated than just like filling out a one-page form. That's the thing. So it's definitely, there's more to it. What's the back end? What's
WordPress?
It's WordPress. Okay. And is it Robert Wilson still doing it, or is somebody else?
No, it's Guilfoyle.
Okay.
So it's a different company.
Yeah.
But I could ask them, I could send them a form and say, what would it take to build this into the website under CPC?
Okay.
And
Or here's the question. It's not so much, what does it take to build this into the website? It's, here's a form we have. Here's, a multiple page form that we have. What's your recommendation for making it more streamlined for an online submission process? Because that will make it such that they could either do a form or they could have something else. I don't want to just say, make this an online form, but maybe there's another way to approach it.
yeah.
That's the question I would ask is, what do we do to make, do you have a proposal to make this a more online, an online, an online.
An easier submit.
Yeah, and an online application as opposed to a fillable PDF.
Yeah, I think, most of that packet is like the definitions from the
Exactly.
statute. So you could even put that as a separate piece.
Yeah.
Onto your committee page,
Yeah.
and then just have the boxes that people actually fill out,
Mhm.
you know, as the form. something
Exactly,
like
exactly. You want to segregate the submitted information from all the other stuff, the rules and regs that we know.
Yeah,
It would certainly make it a whole lot easier for us to go through all this.
Yeah.
Because the other stuff is,
Yeah, because there's 6 pages that are just
yeah,
throwaway.
Right, and then there's an appendix after that. So the 6 pages of content, a couple pages of form, and then appendix A, which is another 2 pages. So yeah, ask them what their recommendation is, because I don't know how your site is built particularly, but or what kind of add-ons they have available to process this kind of data. But they probably have a recommendation. But yeah, give them the form, and don't have them build anything yet, because I think we want to just, if they're going to do something, we'll want to give them the final version that is scalable, that we can edit again next year more easily, so that we can give them changes and say, change this to 24, 25, whatever. But we want to give them the most updated version. So I haven't looked at Lynn's notes yet. But you might just give it to them now and say, what do you think? Because they'll need time. They'll need time to build it.
That would be good for the application itself, but as we send the notices out to the committee chair, like I said, I usually send a copy of the application as an attachment plus that notice. So
Right.
would you be able to make the changes, or I guess I could? I only found a PDF, Ellen. So if you could make the copy edits that I put on this,
Yeah.
and then send it to Kristen Taylor, then that can go to the committee chairs.
Yeah, I had said I would be able to do that this week.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I can do that.
Well, I'd like to be able to send it, not at the end of the week, but at the beginning, because I'm trying to give them more than 2 weeks' notice.
Okay.
Do that? Ellen, instead of waiting till the end of the week, can you actually make these copy edits earlier so that the notice can go out to the committee chairs?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
You're
Do you
welcome.
have a Word version of it, Ellen?
I can't remember. I'm sure I do. I've been doing this one for a couple of years, but I can make some edits directly into the PDF.
Okay, that would be good. I tried to flag everything. They're all flagged. You might catch some more because you have a sharp eye for this kind of thing, but I got the
Yeah.
big chunky bits.
Yeah, I'll take a look.
Okay, that would be great, because then we can get this to Kristen to get the notices out to the committee members. At the same time, get it to your web company to have them figure out how to make this an easy, unfillable form. So
Yeah.
that seems like a
Yeah.
good solution.
Yeah, can I see that, Lynn?
Sure. Sure. Because I also send out to other nonprofits in town, like the Nahant Historical Society, and the Nahant Preservation Trust. What other nonprofits might we want to think about? Anyone?
Doesn't Cora have a Nahant pickleball club yet?
As long as she is a 501c3, we'll talk about it.
She's gonna be
You-
asking me for deadline dates, but
Yeah, actually, you are raising a good point, because we oftentimes do the Nahant Country Club.
Yeah.
The Dory Club. Thank you. You're clicking my mind.
So, page 7, 8, 9, and 10 are basically the application.
Yeah, that's the substance of it.
Right,
And you guys don't really change that other than the years that are in it.
Absolutely. That's why I say it's pretty,
I would get rid of the years, the pre-registered years in here. And then you can put this on, you know, then if they create this as like a submittable form on your committee page on the website. You won't have to really worry about changing this year to year. All you have to change is your guidelines, and that's just uploading a new document. Very simple.
Ellen, did you hear all that?
I did. I'm scrolling in the document on my own computer right now, and I think.
Because there is a section under financials where it says, you know, at fiscal year 23, fiscal year 24. And I get Tony's point, if it says simply year 1, year 2, year 3.
right.
So we take away the datedness aspect of it and make it universal. That would make this process a little bit easier.
Yeah,
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tony.
yeah, that's an excellent idea. I think that I do think that people who are filling out the form do not know what, so the question is, the fiscal year column, do you want to get rid of the fiscal year column entirely? Does it matter? Do you know what I mean? Like, we know what fiscal year, you know, what the budget fiscal year is because we're involved here, but do we care that people who are filling out the form might not know and might just say first year, second year, third year? Do we need that fiscal year information? Do we want to leave that for them to fill in, or do we want to just take it out?
I think if you look at it, I think we could just let them fill it out.
Okay,
So keep the first year, second year, third year, and then just let the fiscal year hang.
okay, so just leave that blank.
Yeah. I haven't actually seen people very successfully fill out this section, quite honestly.
It's kind of confusing.
It's kind of confusing. The only person I will give real high marks to is Sharon over at the public library. She gets it. But yeah. Yeah, most of the time it kind of trails along, so. Well, actually, so let's go at this and see what we can, see how we can progress. Because with that, quite honestly, now Paul's left the room, but with that ends the agenda that I had. And I'd be open to new business. Anyone? Sitting on your hands? Yeah, okay. So the next meeting would be actually on November 22nd. I'll just remind our committee and our listeners about the amount of money that we may have to appropriate. Because we get an estimate of the 3% surcharge from Sheila of $258,968. And if we use, in the past, we've sort of stuck, we've actually modeled this on 50% match, 60% match, and 70% match, which is the one we've been consistently receiving. And that's what the revenue projections look like. But if we actually, if we look at a 50% match, we'd have $387,000, 60% match, $412,000, and 70% match, $438,000. I'll just remind everyone that we have an existing bond for the library for the $400,000 bond, and we'd be looking at, for fiscal year 23, a payment of $53,600 on that. And then depending on when the $500,000 bond is taken.
And when the first payment is due.
Yeah. Do you have any idea on that?
Well, I mean, bid documents, the bid docs are going into the central registrar now, and we're getting bids back in December, so.
You would say
And the
yes.
MHC grant requires us to get the job done sooner than later, so I would imagine in the next month or so, we're gonna do the borrowing.
And in that case, the first year of that would be $70,000. So I just want to say to our committee,
But
The question is when it impacts our budget. That's what I'm.
Right, is the 70 due July 1, 2022, or is it due July 1, 2023? I have to ask Allison.
If we can ask Allison about that. Because if it's later, that's great. If it's later, then I know we would have potentially, $350,000 to work with. But if it's, hits right away, we'd have $289,000 to work with on a 60% match. So, and then there is the big question about the eminent domain taking at East Point,
And that borrowing.
and the borrowing on that. But I don't see that necessarily happening in fiscal year 23. But that may, it's unlikely.
I think it's unlikely, but you raise a good point, and maybe this committee should think a little bit like further down the road, and if building up your reserves in a sense to prepare for when that does finally come into place. So that you still have money to award, projects in future years. I don't know, something for you guys to talk about.
Yeah, we have a pretty good general reserve at this point. So which is $322,000 or $266,000. So
So that would be on top of the 400 and.
that's out of last year's.
That's not included in
Yeah.
what you were just talking
That's right.
about.
That's out of last year's.
Okay.
So we have $66,000 in the bank. We've got $35,000 in reserve for the housing. Open space is nothing. Historic is nothing. But so we have reserves in two
General reserve.
categories to work with.
Do you typically pay that debt payment, that debt service payment out of the reserve, or that's something you guys decide every year?
The debt payment out of the appropriation.
Right, and then we decide how much,
You
if
decide
any,
if
to
that
dip
appropriation is
into the
coming
general.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
That's what, actually, the fun part of all of this is figuring out what pot to draw on and what pot to maintain.
Mhm.
So the point is to our listeners, we have obligations that we'll have to meet because of existing bonds or bonds about to be taken. But we also have a healthy kind of match situation and a healthy surcharge. And a $266,000 general reserve. So. Clear as mud, everybody?
Good
start. Okay. So with that, if there's any other new business, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have to do a roll call or can we just make this by voice? All right, fine.
I didn't make the rule.
Paul Spurn,
Aye.
Nancy Catalmo.
Yes.
Ellen Steves.
Aye.
Austin Antrim,
Aye.
Ellen Goldberg,
Aye.
Mickey Long,
Aye.
aye for me, unanimous.
All right. there we
Our
are.
next meeting is on
Good night, all.
November 22nd. We look forward to it. It will
Good
be
night, all.
here.
No.
All right, so Paul, just click stop share.
Okay.
How this effective this is, but
I know.
And then end in the bottom right corner,
Yeah.
end meeting for all.